Let's face it, most of our soils here in Oklahoma aren't that great for growing a lot of our cultivated garden plants and vegetables. Most of our soils are heavy clay that don't drain very well and they hold very little nutrient value. Some of our soils are very sandy and they drain okay because the water just passes right through them. They don't have very good nutrient holding capacity and they don't retain enough moisture to be good garden soils. Well, fortunately, both of these soil types can be greatly improved by adding organic matter, and you can make your own organic matter by composting. Composting is nature's way of recycling. All of the leaves that fall from the trees and out on the prairies, the leaf blades that come from the grasses, all of these end up on the ground where they decompose or break down and turn into a soil-like material called humus that helps replenish our native plants. Well, as gardeners, we produce a lot of organic yard waste as well, with our grass clippings, the leaves we rake up, all the weeds, and other plant materials. We can take these and easily compost those and turn them into black gold. That's really good for our gardens. Composting is achieved by the action of aerobic microorganisms. These microorganisms are present in all of our soils, and they feed on the organic matter. They release nutrients and just break it down into that fine soil-like material. Well, there are four basic ingredients to a compost pile: the organic matter, the aerobic microorganisms, and because they're aerobic, the microorganisms need oxygen. So oxygen is our third ingredient that we need in our compost pile. The fourth ingredient is water, and we want to keep about a 50% moisture level in our compost pile. If we have too much moisture, it will drive out all of the oxygen and all the air spaces, and our aerobic microorganisms would suffocate. Then the pile would go into an anaerobic state of decay, and we'd get some really bad smells, and we don't really want that. If we have too little moisture and the pile gets hot, it can actually combust or ash out. And sometimes this has happened. We'll dig through and we'll see kind of the gray, ashy type substance if that happens. The oxygen that we need in our compost pile is supplied mainly by the way it's designed. You can see the slats that we have in the front here have a little piece of the boards cut out where lots of air can get up inside there. And again, the bulk of this bin is constructed out of this livestock wire, and that will freely let a lot of oxygen enter into the pile and supply those microorganisms. Another good way to get oxygen into your compost pile is to periodically turn it or flip it. And we just take our bins here and fill these. Once two of them are full, we take and flip the center one into the outside, then bring the other one into the middle. So we always leave one empty so we can just keep flipping our compost back and forth. And when we do this, it fluffs it up and gets lots of oxygen in there for those microorganisms. Something else that will speed up the process of the decomposition is to add a little bit of commercial fertilizer. Those little microorganisms need nitrogen to do their work, so adding a little fertilizer will speed up the process. Another thing that will determine the rate of decay of your organic matter is the actual material you put into your compost bin. The chart that you see on your screen contains materials that are high in carbon and those that are high in nitrogen. We call this our carbon to nitrogen ratio. And the number on the left refers to the amount of carbon present to the amount of nitrogen. So the higher the number, the longer it's going to take for that to decompose. You can see that oak leaves are about a 50-to-1 carbon to nitrogen ratio. Grass clippings are around 25-to-1. So we can roughly say that it will take the oak leaves twice as long to decompose as it will the grass clippings. Now, if you look down the list of the high carbon materials, you'll see that sawdust comes in at 500-to-1. And even further down the list is wood at 700-to-1. Well, this tells us that those materials are going to take an extremely long time to decompose. So you probably really wouldn't want to put those in your compost pile. You could take those and pile them up somewhere on your property and just be prepared to wait several years before they decompose. A few things that you don't want to add to your compost pile would be grass clippings that have been recently treated with an herbicide, or any weeds that have a lot of seed heads on them, or any plant material that has some type of disease problem. Now, if you are able to get your compost pile really hot, say up to 140 degrees for 3 consecutive days or longer, you can kill a lot of those weed seeds and pathogens. But we don't always get our compost piles that hot, so we don't recommend putting those in there. If you're interested, our website has some fact sheets on composting and amending garden soils. You can log on to www.oklahomagardening.okstate.edu and check all of those out. Well, once our compost is ready, it's decomposed enough and it starts to look and smell like really good soil, we're then able to use it on our gardens. And when it gets to this stage, I kind of think of it as looking and feeling like chocolate cake crumbs. Just really good stuff. Well, this organic matter, when we put it on our gardens, it just brings just a lot of good things to our gardens. It's a very good soil conditioner, and it also supplies a lot of plant nutrients. Especially if you're using composted plant material, you will generally have all of those plant nutrients that your plants need, all 16 essential elements. But the soil conditioning properties that organic matter gives are just phenomenal. I mentioned earlier the clay soils and the sandy soils. We can take the organic matter, put that in our clay soil, and work that up, and it will greatly improve the soil. The way it does this is, if you think about the clay particles, they're very tiny, they're very small, and they're flat or flake shaped, so they stack up in the soil, kind of like a lot of little flakes, and it makes a very impermeable substance, and it's really hard for water and oxygen to penetrate through all those layers. Well, you bring in the organic matter, and it kind of acts like a glue. It glues all those little flakes together, and the shape of the particles changes. You get these aggregates or crumbs, and those stack up differently in the soil, and so you have all these little channels or more pore space in your soil, and that makes it a lot easier for the water and the oxygen to penetrate into the soil. And it's the same way with the sand. You just take some organic matter, add that to your sandy soil, and again, the very same thing will happen. It will bind those sand grains together, and again, make nice aggregates, nice crumbs. And I mean, you can just see that you can almost like hold it together now, because it's going to hold a lot more moisture, and it'll also have a lot more nutrient holding capacity. You may have heard that you can take sand and add it to a clay soil to improve the drainage. Well, that's only true if you end up with a mixture that's about 2/3 sand to your amount of clay. Because if you go less than that, you can actually damage your soil. You can have a lot of sand grains and clay that actually turns into something like a mixture of concrete. So the best thing you can add to those soils is the organic matter. Well, another good source of organic matter is animal manures. Animal manures have been used agriculturally since ancient times. They're the first source of fertilizer known to civilization. The composted manures of plant-eating animals are a very good source of nutrients, and also a very good source of soil conditioning organic matter. If you choose, you could purchase something like this steer manure from different garden centers or nurseries, or you could choose to go out to a cattle operation or a horse stable or stall and ask the owner if you could take some of this off their hands. Well, before you grow any vegetable crops in manured soils, there are a few things that you need to be aware of. There are a few pathogens that can contribute to some foodborne illnesses if they splash onto the produce. And such pathogens as E. coli, salmonella, and a few others may be present in fresh manure, but you don't have to worry about these if the manure has been aged or composted properly. As a general rule, you don't want to harvest any food crops that have been grown on manured soils within 120 days of the application. This is especially important for those food crops that come in contact with the soil, like the leafy crops of lettuce and cabbage, and also the root crops like radishes, carrots, and onions. We also don't recommend that you use any manure from humans, dogs, cats, or pigs, because these may contain pathogens or parasites that live longer in the soil and can cause some infectious problems later on. And generally, manures that are not aged enough don't perform that well in the garden anyway, because the manure is still too fresh or too hot and it contains too much nitrogen. I made the mistake once of collecting some cattle manure from an operation one time and trucking that to my house and building several gardens and planting the plants there, and it wasn't aged enough. It looked like it had, but I think it had been kept inside the barn where it wasn't outside getting rained on and weathered, so it was still too hot. And the plants that I had planted in these beds looked stunted. They looked like they had nitrogen deficiencies, which the symptoms are pretty much similar to an excess of nitrogen. And I really got a good clue whenever I would water, and I'd get a very strong aroma of ammonia coming from the bed. So it's best to let those manures be properly aged or compost before you use them. And if you live in the city or an urban area, you'll especially want to make sure they're aged before you bring those in. If you were to bring in a large load of fresh, steaming, hot animal manure and pile that into your backyard, you could possibly offend your neighbors.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.